Welcome back to another episode of Past, Present, Future on the VSN network. This is the first one of 2023, so I will say Happy New Year, even though it is late. We are nearly at the end of January now. So Happy New Year to everyone that does tune in and peep our show. Happy New Year to those that have joined me today. Here I've got your guy Trippy OG, and we've also got Pamala joining us. Mad Nick fan, as she is known on Twitter. So part of the VSM family. Thank you for joining us today. We are missing a few of the usual suspects, but the show must go on. So we're currently in the midst of a 4-game losing streak. It's real rough going for the Knicks right now. So we're going to do things a little bit different today. We're not going to go in the normal order. We're going to break trend and buck the trend, and we're actually just going to start with what's happening right now, and then we're going to go back and look at the past, and then we're going to give an insight into the future because it's tough going for Knicks right now. Knicks fans are just in a state of I don't know how to put it. They're in a state of sort of unconsciousness of just watching this team. I feel like today watching this game, I wasted my time watching it. I can deal with a loss. It's not an issue, but today just felt like a total waste of time. Like I could have done better things with my time today. That's how I'm feeling. So if that gives you any indication of where this team is headed or how things are going, that's the best way I can explain it. The panel feel I think pretty mutual, and just Knicks fans in general. That's the general consensus I'm getting from the timeline on Twitter. Obviously, streets are buzzing, as they say. Shout out to my other Australian Knicks content creator by the name of that. But yes, the streets are buzzing, the Twitter streets. So it is mean out there right now. It is hostile. Spaces are going wild. So let's jump into it, man. I'm gonna just jump straight into it. I'm going to give you the lowdown. So as I mentioned, Knicks are in the midst of a 4-game losing streak. We are missing Mitchell Robinson right now. It's the second game without him, I believe. We were missing also Emmanuel Quickly today, who has been unbelievable for us off the bench and whenever he's been asked to start this season. So if you hear that and you hear me say no Mitch, no IQ, and you laugh at that and you think that means not much, then you must not watch much basketball or much Knick basketball, because they've both been important pieces for us. While they might not be anywhere near our best players, they're very important pieces. The Raptors actually were missing OG Anunoby today too. So, they were missing a big piece of theirs. We had a chance to split the season series. It was, our 4th game against them. We were, 1-2 going into this, and we could have evened it up, but unfortunately we were unable to do it. We lost by 9 in the end, I believe. We actually took the lead after being down 17 in the third. We had a really good third quarter, and then we just squandered it. We come back out in the fourth, and we let them jump us. And I think it was 11 points to 2 to start the fourth quarter, and we just never gained control again. I felt like the team, even though it was funny, there was a lot of the team showed a lot of resilience in that third quarter, and I was actually thinking to myself, wow, this team shows at times that they don't quit, but unfortunately then they showed me the opposite end of that, and it looked like this team had given up with still plenty of time left in the fourth. And look, don't get me wrong, the Raptors were great, but we weren't good at all. We're clearly missing Mitch. We're clearly missing bench scoring. Our bench has been a little bit of a letdown for us all season, aside from Quickly, who is the bright spark, and missing him tonight was definitely evident. So without further ado, I'm going to just jump straight into it and hand this one over to Trippy and give us your thoughts, man. Obviously, it's a rough going at the minute for Knicks fans. It's rough going for this team. There's a lot of issues circulating both on the court and off the court with the whole Cam Reddish thing. So and the coach. So what's on your mind? Talk to us,
bro. I don't understand it. I don't understand. Number one, no IQ. Obi comes into the game in like 10 minutes, has like 12 points, and then goes missing. Like, I don't see him no more, period. Evan Fournier played 21 minutes versus Obi's 11. My boy still had a bad game, while Obi is putting on with the least minute he do. If I'm not mistaken, in about 7 to 12 minutes max, Obi had 12 points, I think about 3 or 4 rebounds, a block, a steal. Like, bro, he had everything going. Why did we defer and not keep him in the game? Made no sense to me. Where was Brunson at? Where did he go? Mr. Oh, he's bringing the Knicks back. Oh, he's Mr. Clutch. Where the hell was he at? Because the Raptors backcourt cooked ours. I'm tired of Quentin Grimes now. Every time I look at Quentin Grimes now, I don't even care about them sparks. I'm going past the whole sophomore year. Like, by the way we went about his whole situation when it comes to the Donovan Mitchell trades in the offseason, and what I'm seeing right now when we need this good play or this spectacular play of Mr. quote-unquote untouchable, bro, it's a slap in the face. It's a super slap in the face as a fan. As a matter of fact, let me repeat that. As a diehard fan, I'm not just a fan of any particular player, but a diehard fan of this team, that's a slap in the face, bro. This is ridiculous. Like, and then Tom still doesn't even at least bring in D Rose, and you see Deuce ain't even giving you shit, bro. Like, come, I'm done. I ain't got much more to say. We need to make a move. Oh, last but not surely, you seen Gary Trent Jr. If that's not more than enough to go trade for him right now, I'm talking about before tomorrow hit noon, get him on this team right now. Right now, bro. My son was shooting off the dribble, pulling in your face. He banged it on Jericho Sims. Then he did it again and looked back at him like, I wish you would come jump for it. I'm done. Gary Trent Jr., that's seen the post, man.
As you can tell, guys, as mentioned, Knicks fans are heated. So it's one of those games today where, you know, Toronto's not doing that great on the season. They have had a bit of a better run recently, but granted, what's going on over there isn't working. So, you know, you look to those teams, don't get me wrong, it's the NBA. These teams still do turn up. They are actually a nightmare matchup for us because of how we are constructed as opposed to how they are constructed. But generally, the thing is with them and why they're losing is because they don't have a rim protector. They don't really have a guy over. They've got maybe one or two guys over 6'8", but they don't play them a lot. They actually did give Hernan Gomez a few minutes tonight, and he showed a couple times why, you know, height is actually an advantage because he got a couple like timely rebounds that gave them a second chance and actually cashed in off those. So obviously we had no one out there taller than Jericho Sims today, which some people tell me he's 6'10". It doesn't feel like it. Obviously he's young, so we give him a little bit of a pass. He is playing, you know, to his strengths. But the thing I felt with Jericho and what sort of happened in the last two games where he stepped up for Mitch is that he's actually, I think he's only accumulated maybe 2 fouls through both games, maybe one. He's not trying to play defense too hard because he wants to stay on the floor, and I totally understand that. But that just goes to show you what the situation these players are put in from this coach. It's a fact of you've got to play defense, and you look at and ask all the greats. It was actually funny because Clyde and that were talking about this the other night. Is you don't want to have no fouls, but at the same time you want to play, you know, smart defense. But unfortunately, but the way that it's viewed amongst peers and players is that if you've got no fouls, you're not playing defense correctly. If you've got too many, you're not playing it correctly. But if you're around 2 or 3 for a game, then you're seen as, you know, you've been aggressive, you've tried, and you've done well. Now, obviously, Jericho Sims, as I mentioned, no fouls in the first game. He had none, which was the last game, and then I think he only had 1 or 2 tonight. So, you know, he's very hesitant because he doesn't want to get ripped off the floor by this coach. So there is also that factor. You know, guys have seen it. The young guys that don't really get a chance. You know, that they're not given the chance to make those mistakes. So therefore, you know, it can cause hesitancy in defense. And that means that Jericho, in the role that he's trying to do and provide while Mitch is down, he's actually limited because he's limiting himself, but it's based off what he has to face as repercussions from his coach and you know, in terms of return on investment, I guess you could call it, because he can't invest fully on defense because he wants to stay out on the floor, because if he invests, he knows he's going to make some mistakes and therefore it's going to get him ripped off the floor. So you know, a lot of threes cashed in tonight. They actually got quite a few points in the paint, some easy ones. Even though we were there and present on defense, it was just, that's all we were. We weren't we weren't aggressive. We weren't able to be aggressive, or they feel some of these players feel they can't. Plus, Toronto, while they are small, in some cases they're considered small, they also have a lot of length. So they can have at any time a lineup of 5 guys on the floor that have an average height of like 6'5" plus, 6'5" to 6'8", and they are long guys. So it does make it hard when you've got only one guy on the floor that's 6'8", or one that's 6'10", that's a rookie, or sophomore. So they are a tough matchup for us. They are a tough matchup. But again, why Knicks fans are heated, and my point is that the Raptors haven't been doing that well. We've been in a lot of the games that we've played against them this year. We obviously won one on the road in Toronto. It was the first time in, I don't know, X amount of years, which was great. But the other 2 games we matched up on them, it was actually on our second night of a back-to-back. Tonight it was our turn to play them on the second night of a back-to-back, but unfortunately missing players and just the state of this team. So I'm not going to I'm not here to make excuses. The state of this team isn't great. The breakdown is happening. Mitch is obviously injured, as mentioned, and IQ out. I think IQ out personally is for mine, and from what we've seen, is to do with being overplayed, because he did go through a run in there where he was playing a lot of minutes, especially in this recent stretch of this last month or so. So we might see the breakdown of some players soon, which is catastrophic for this team. And also Brunson was just a non-factor tonight. He wasn't attacking. He wasn't really aggressive. And when he was, his decision-making was pretty poor. He was picking the ball up in the middle of the lane while being swamped by opposition players. And it was unlike Brunson from what we've seen from him this season. And unfortunately, we cannot carry ourselves off the backs of just Brunson. Julius Randle was good, but while he was efficient, he was limited. So this is what the Raptors do. They might not necessarily make you miss shots, but they'll make you not be able to take them. And that was what we saw. I think that they come to him a lot with doubles early. They're a very physical team. I will also say, and I'm not one to blame refs, but they do get away with it. They start the game out physical and they don't adjust. So if some teams will come out the gate like Bulls we see in the NBA, and then they'll get an early foul call or get in a little bit of early foul trouble. And what they do is they adjust and they go back. And so they fall into what the refs want them to do. So therefore, you're playing the refs game. Whereas the Raptors, they come out, they stay aggressive, and then the refs have no choice but to let them be aggressive and physical, because at the end of the day, there's still a game of basketball to be played. So the refs adjust to them. And this is how the Raptors tend to get a leg up on some teams. They're very physical. There is a lot of contact when you play them. But unfortunately, that's how you have to play, man. You have to play with what's in front of you and the way that it's going to be officiated. And that's just how it is. We did see that, though, reflective in the free throws at one point there. It was like 14 attempts to 25 or something. And that was before the end of the game, where there was obviously a lot of fouling. So they had 10 something plus attempts. Plus, mentioning of free throws, we just didn't make ours. So that's another issue we've faced all season and continues to mar us. But I won't keep going on. I will let Pamela give us her thoughts now. Thank you to Trippy, because obviously quite heated. But Pamela, what's on your mind? How are you feeling? Obviously, it's rough going at the minute as a Knicks fan. Talk to us about how you're feeling about the current stretch and what's going on.
For me right now with the Knicks, it's all about the coach. It starts with Tibbs, it ends with him. Period. No one should be surprised that our players are getting injured at this point. The amount of minutes between rotations is ridiculous. We do have a bench. We had the same bench we had last season. What's the difference? The amount of time that they're on the floor. You know, he sometimes I just question. I can't even question. I'm just so confused by him at this point. You know, I don't understand the Cam Reddish situation at all. I think the last few games that we lost, he could have been a major factor. I don't like what I'm seeing from the point guard. You cannot average 2-3 assists. That's what we had before. We didn't have a true point guard. What is Jalen Brunson doing? Right? Julius Randle is playing good. But the mistakes that he makes during the game, even if he has 38 points, are usually crucial. I question his basketball IQ all the time. He's a very emotional player, which makes him unstable. I don't trust him, right? And we cannot build a team around him. I think we don't give Mitchell Robinson enough credit because he doesn't show up on the stat sheet like the rest of the players, as far as points. But not for nothing, he has to hustle for everything he gets, and he has to protect the rim on both ends of the court. Where's the help? Right? Put Fournier in the game. I don't even understand why he's a consideration. He's a defensive liability. He's always been. Maybe he'll get you a 3-pointer, and so what? The risk is too great. Tibbs is a good coach, but he's not the coach for this team. I think he's done all that he can do. He can't take them to the next level. We need fresh eyes. We need someone more forward thinking, younger, and sees the NBA as it is today. I've been a Knicks fan since the Anthony Mason, Charles Oakley days. I get it. This team reminds me a lot of them. Wrong coach. Wrong coach. I've been listening to all the trade talk. I wouldn't trade anybody but Julius Randle. I just don't think he's mentally fit for this team. There's a lot of talk about who we should bring in. Just because they're a superstar doesn't mean they're going to make it in New York. This is a pressure cooker from the onset, right? It's easy to be a superstar in a small market. This is a very big market, and Knicks fans are brutal, right? We love the game. We got to get rid of this coach. I like the talent we have. We need a different coach. That's all I can say about it.
Yeah, look, it's hard to disagree with that. It was a pick from the front office at the start in terms of the coach that a lot of people had issues with. Now, obviously, he took us back to the playoffs in that first year. It is what it is. Then last year was an absolute catastrophe. They tried something completely different. Then we've gone away from that play style. So I don't know if you guys recall, or listeners, whoever's tuning into this, panels included. But when they went and got Kemba Walker and Evan Fournier last year, the aim was, and the going into that year, our offensive scheme was going to become and they said it outright, was a high volume 3-point shooting offensive structure. Because they went and got Kemba Walker, they went and got Evan Fournier. So these are two guys, especially Fournier being a shooter, and Kemba later in his later years was considered and always was a bit of an outside shooter, but especially in the later years, they didn't want him attacking the paint so much. They wanted him more as a shooter. Obviously, we saw that didn't work. But we actually saw that same structure in play tonight. The Knicks took some ridiculous amount of threes. I know it was close to 40 or more, which is just absurd. We don't have the talent for that. I'm sorry. I do like the talent, as you said, Pamela. I do like the talent on this team, but this team does not have 3-point talent, which is why we can't break a zone. Which is what Toronto just does. Every time they face up to us, they play a zone, and it's basically a case of how the Knicks play other teams. So the Knicks defense is based on forcing you into a bad shot. We obviously protect the paint a lot, and try to get out and contest threes late. But we basically put teams into a thing is to make the shots from outside, which is what Toronto does with us. So and if you don't make those shots, you can't break the zone, because then they know, well, we just pack the paint, play a 2-3 zone, and until you start making enough shots that we're uncomfortable, we're not going to change that. And and that's what we saw. And obviously, we tried to break the zone by shooting a lot tonight, which is hence why we had so many attempts. But it didn't work last year. We didn't get any better talent in terms of shooting the ball this year of coming into this season. So I mean, look, Jalen Brunson's more of a mid-range guy and a attack the rim type. He can shoot the three, and he has shot it pretty well this year, but he's not a high volume shooter. So look, my biggest thing for this is where did they ever expect this team to go under Tom Thibodeau? Granted, the NBA is what it is now. I don't want to see this team. I will say this though, and some people might get up in arms about this, but I don't want to see this team turn into a high volume 3-point shooting team. Even if we go and get some more talent, it's just not great basketball. You need the right pieces to do it. Even the Warriors through their stretch, they actually shot a lot of stuff inside the paint. If you remember their first run, they had Sean Livingston, who was huge in the mid range for them. They had players like that. I mean, the from the outside looking in, you thought this is just a team that jacks up a lot of threes, but it wasn't. They used the three to their advantage when it was it was there, but they never forced it. Obviously, they had two of the greatest shooters of all time. That helps a lot, but people believed that their game was this ridiculously high volume three game, but it actually wasn't. We've seen teams shoot higher volume threes. We've seen the Rockets, I think, do it twice in that same sort of stretch, and some other teams now, modern teams, are actually shooting more than the Warriors did, or taking more attempts than the Warriors did through that first run when obviously the three ball became part of the game. They did. Don't get me wrong, they did make it part of the game, but I just don't want to see this team turn into that because you can still win without doing that. Look at the perfect example. Look at the Milwaukee Bucks. What they did, they weren't per se. Obviously, they had a generational talent and player in Giannis, but I just don't want to see this team turn into that. I don't think we have the right personnel for that, and I think it would take too much of a reshuffle to make that happen. But getting back to my point is, I don't know what this team ever thought they were going to do with Tom Thibodeau. Everywhere he's gone, he has taken a team back to the playoffs, but then it culminates in nothing. So he did this in his first coaching head coaching position in the Bulls. He obviously ended up coming in a couple of years after Derrick Rose was drafted, and they went back to the playoffs. I think in his second year there. Then obviously he went to the Timberwolves. Same thing. Second year there, they went back to the playoffs, and then for the first time in ages, same was with the Bulls. And then obviously he came here, and in his first season, he took us back to the playoffs. So this is how Tom Thibodeau has gotten by, because he comes in, he wins Coach of the Year by turning these teams that have been catastrophically bad for a long period of time back into, well, I mean, technically the term is a contender because you're in the playoff race, and then it amounts to nothing. It doesn't matter whether you get out of the first round or not. It generally just amounts to nothing because that's as far as he takes teams, and it's based off the back of defense, but you can get by on a year or so with that. And don't get me wrong, he had a pretty good record in Chicago, but it still never amounted to nothing. He hinged too much on star players. So Joakim Noah, Derrick Rose, and we obviously know what happened with Derrick Rose. He had him in the game late up against Philadelphia in game one of the first round, and we saw Derrick Rose do his ACL. Now, that still could have happened regardless and in a different time, but it is seen as a blight on Tom Thibodeau. So I think you're right. I think this coach right now has run his course, at least with this team, and this team needs to look to do something else. But I do fear that we are one of the few teams in the league that unfortunately builds around, well, right now anyway, is building around a coach rather than around players. Normally the coach is the first to go, right? But this is the thing as well. Knicks fans are like, oh, I'm tired of seeing it. We've seen coaches come and go for years and such and such. And yeah, that's cool. And I agreed with it. And I didn't want to get rid of Tibbs too early once we got him, even though I didn't like the signing. And I think a lot of people will agree. But he's been here long enough now where it's like, all right, we can move on from him. And it's not really, going to go against us. It's not like we got him for 10 minutes and then got rid of him.
Right.
So I have to agree. I think it's time to move on from him. I think he has ran his course in New York, and I think we need, as you said, someone either younger or just more forward thinking to move forward in this league. So,
truth be told, bro, I wish that once we got to this off season and we constructed this team to have the youth that we have with the abundance of picks we have, right after that, once we didn't make no moves and we decided to stay put, Tom should have been fired right then and there. We should have started this season with all of that with a new coach. That would have looked perfect going into the new season. get development. Now you get to really see which each player going to look like because you got a new coach. So he's going to test the waters. You get what I'm saying? They get a new profound leader in Brunson. Some way, somehow. I got a feeling Randle would have probably ended up being out the door, but I'm still cool with him. Like, I'm still at that point, like, if you could give me a good enough package, I'll let Randle go. But as of right now, it seems that when it comes to at least the starting lineup of this team, we're good. We just don't have a bench anymore. Like, we went basically all of what Leon Rose did with the bad signings of re-signings that he had to make up for with clearing some space. The only cost was it cost us a bench. It didn't cost us anything in terms of picks, money, things like that, but it cost us a bench to where, look at it, like, why is IQ playing any amount of minutes that he is? Why is IQ 66% of the bench's offense? Like, one person, there's 4 other people that play on his team with him, bro. And he's only, what do you mean? What do you mean? Then we get one game, and I'm still stuck on this from earlier. We finally get a game that we see he's out. We got a young man that just came back from an injury, and he's lighting it up like it's nothing. And you choose to defer from that? Mm-hmm. There's no way in the hell, especially after today, especially after we seen a tweet go out that there were so many representatives from different teams in the building watching this game. How does Tom not get on the hot seat? How? Then he wants to say, quote unquote, nobody's gonna come save us. Nobody's gonna come save us. So we ain't making no moves. Leon Rose, I'm about to stab you in the foot, bro. Like, what do you mean? Like,
can I add to those frustrations? So I am seeing a tweet. Obviously, we were hearing bits and pieces of, and this is what we're talking about, guys. When Trippy, what he's referring to is Tom Thibodeau's post-game presser. We heard it just before we jumped into recording. Pamela was listening to it while we were waiting to see who was going to join us today for this episode. Anyway, the last thing we heard from Tom Thibodeau in that before we jumped into this was he said, no one's coming to save us. We have to do this ourselves. So that's what Trippy's talking about. And just further to that, I am seeing a quote getting around. And look, I'm gonna say that this was from one of the great people on Nick's Twitter. He was obviously watching the presser. We didn't get this or hear this ourselves. I didn't hear it while we were listening, but apparently Tibbs went on to say, Knicks fans, he told Knicks fans that he chose Evan over Cam because of size. His response. So I believe that there was obviously a lot of people have been asking these Knicks beat writers to ask the question. And look, I'm going to say one thing, and I never thought I would ever say this in my life. Right now, we miss Mark Berman. We miss in this whole Cam charade. Knicks fans actually miss someone like Mark Berman because Berman would have asked that question long ago about what's going on with Cam and why hasn't he been played, because obviously there's that whole story there too, which we're not going to probably get into today, but just to touch on it, people have been begging Knicks beat writers, so Fred Katz, Steph Bondy, Steve Popper, they've been begging these guys through tweets to ask this question. So obviously someone's asked the question of why did you go with Evan over Cam today, especially against this, as mentioned, long Raptors team.
And no, they didn't ask the question, bro. They didn't ask the question. Not to cut you off. They didn't ask the question. No, when I say ask the question, we know how Mark Berman asked the question.
Yeah.
They ain't asking the question. Like they're getting through it, but they're not asking the right question.
So they've obviously hinted at it, and he said that they must have said something along the lines of, what made you choose Evan to be that rotational player to step up, given that Quickly was also out? And his answer is length. So he's complete. This is now where he is being toxic. He is also being immature, because he's chosen to flat out sit there and say this, that he chose Evan for length when he has a 6'8" wing with a 7 foot plus wingspan sitting on the bench, who earlier this year was, when Tom needed him, was, oh, you can start for us. And now something's obviously happened. No one knows the details. We believe that there was obviously an exchange. Maybe there was an exchange between management because he is with Clutch, and Clutch is known to be pretty straightforward and aggressive, and sometimes rock the boat a little bit with their clients, whether to their detriment or to their benefit. So Tom Thibodeau now is just being he's, and I excuse my language to all our listeners and to the ladies with us today, but he's being an asshole by doing that. He has flat out just gone and diminished the fact that Cam exists on this team by saying that.
I'm gonna be honest with you. He's doing the same traditional trait he has done since he's been on the Knicks. Every time things get rough, he finds one player on his team to be the scapegoat. The first season was Elfrid Payton. The second season was Kemba Walker. This season is now Cam Reddish. This shit is ridiculous now, bro. Like, at first we didn't notice it because Elfrid, he was still playing. So we didn't catch it. You get what I'm saying? Us as fans, we so mad, and especially because we winning now. We let the blindness of us winning take us out the fact, like, okay, Tom, you've been doing this. Then with Kemba, we started getting whiff of it because it was like, okay, Kemba's actually doing bad. So it makes sense, but then it doesn't make sense because we had the same kind of problem. We started getting depleted with the roster. We quote unquote say we have depth, but we're not using it. We're cutting rotations too early into the season. Like, why are we shortening the season when we got players ready to go? If you claim that when you're ready to go, call the guys, why you ain't calling them? You get what I'm saying? Now this season, we literally watched the player save your ass, Tom. The guy that only gets 10 minutes and the guy that you don't want to quote unquote talk about anymore, they saved your job, bro. Obi Toppin and Cam Reddish saved your freaking job. And then once Grimes get healthy, you shelf him? Number one, let's be honest, y'all. He kind of shelved both of them for Grimes and Deuce. Let's talk about it. The two guys he wanted badly, he shelved the both of them. Look at this. Deuce can't even hit a damn shot. This defense supposed to be impeccable, bro. I'm going to be honest. His defense really ain't been hitting on nothing, just like Quentin Grimes. Because Quentin Grimes supposed to be Mr. Untouchable on some, he can hold it down and guard different types of positions. My son's getting blown by and getting cooked left and right like it's nothing. Every time Grimes get on the court, every game, you can count that he's going to travel or he's going to go out of bounds because my son does not know the length of the court. My son doesn't know how to take a dribble before moving. Oh, I'm supposed to give him a pass because he's a sophomore, right? Nah, I can't give him no pass once you became Mr. Untouchable. That means out the gate, the organization told me that you was that guy. You ain't showing me you not that guy. And this the one time I'm going to be like, maybe Scotty Barnes was right. You not that guy, bro. Because you play like shit. Jalen Brunson, you supposed to be, number one, you Jalen Hurts wearing mother. Bro, you wear that jersey, we get cooked. Then you come in the next game and you don't even perform. Yo, I'm 2 seconds from being so livid to trading your ass to Philly, bro. That ass, you could give me Tyrese Maxey for all that. Like, you're pissing me off, bro. You pissing me off, son. I don't want to hear all it, but it was just one bad game. Nah, son. We've been letting your ass rock for a while. As Knicks fans, I'm going to be real. We've been letting you rock. We've been letting you rock just because we haven't had this type of play from a PG. But, we're going to call a spade, bro. Get your shit together. Why did we defer from RJ Barrett and Obi Toppin getting us back in the game? Why we couldn't pair Randle, Obi, and RJ on the floor at the same time? Because those are the only three that's putting in pain. That makes no fucking sense. But yet Tom Thibodeau is my coach. Leon Rose is still in the front office, and they must be Bengal pillow buddies. I'm going to bed, y'all. I'm going to bed.
And that leads me to what I think will be the last topic of this episode. I do want to hear from Pamela again. Obviously, as you can tell, and as previously mentioned, Trippy is very hot under the collar. We all are. People just express it in different ways, but he is saying a lot of what myself, Pamela, and just the Knicks fan base in general is feeling or thinking. So, he's hitting it on the head. Look, so I was going to go into the past, but I'm not going to. All I'm going to say was that before this skid, the Knicks were up 6 games above 500. It was looking pretty good. We were looking about maybe locking up that 6th seed in the next couple of weeks. We knew that this was a tough schedule coming ahead. Obviously, we've been, a little bit unlucky with losing Mitch and quickly, but this is, an issue as well for the front office. Where's the depth? Why is Isaiah Hartenstein my backup center? Jericho Sims, look, I love the fact that he's getting the start. That's such an un-Tom Thibodeau move. Conventional. We saw it earlier in the season. Now he's done it again as soon as Mitch went down. I actually did think this would happen. But I said I wouldn't be surprised if it happened on a space. But that's not what you do for a team that's chasing a 6th seed. Unfortunately, we don't really have any other moves, though. It's either play Hartenstein to start or play Sims, because that's what we've painted ourselves into. So the Knicks go from 6 games above 500. Now I think we're down to maybe two games above 500. It's looking a little bit stark now. Giving teams forget losing to Toronto ourselves. It's the fact that we're letting teams like Toronto back into the playoff picture and the play-in picture. Which is troubling. This is a team that we want to keep these teams down. We want to force these teams into what other teams have forced us to do over the years, and that's restructure. Because Toronto's really not that great, but with what we're doing right now, and when other teams fail to them and have an off night like that, Boston only just snuck past them by 2 points yesterday. Granted, Marcus Smart went down, and I believe they were missing one of their 2 players. I don't think Tatum played or something like that. The fact is that you can't let these teams believe, because we might face up with them when it comes to the play-in. Now, look, no one here expects the Knicks to go far in the playoffs, or if we do make it, or whatever. But if we come down to the play-in and we've got to play against Toronto, they now have 3-1 against us. That's where the mental games and the mental aspect of this game of basketball comes into play. Whether we're fully healthy or not, this also means that if we were to come into something and it gets to it, their season record against us might actually put them give them a home game advantage or something like that. We don't want that stuff. This is what kills us, is that we hand over the season series to divisional rivals and conference rivals, and it's just a nightmare for this team, and it constantly is. So I'm going to lead into this, and this is going to be our last question, and I want to hear from both of you. And just give me the honest thought of where you're at. You don't have to give me no hypotheticals. You can if you want. You don't have to, though. And I'm going to lay it out like this. So basically, where the hell does this team stand and go from here? What is the future plans, do you think, or what would you like to see done? And are we, and I know people hate this question. I know someone out there, his name's Ariel, he's going to hate this. Is this team stuck in purgatory? Are we stuck in purgatory where we're just constantly living the same hell over and over again? I'm going to start with my take, and then I'm going to let you guys go ahead. I'm going to go to Pamela first, and then Trippy, and then we'll get out of here. But I just want to say one thing: this team didn't go and get Jalen Brunson to rebuild. Not a proper rebuild. This team went and got Jalen Brunson to maybe retool, see how it would go this year, and then retool. But this team did not go and get a 26-year-old Jalen Brunson as a free agent to go, hey, do you mind waiting 3 or 4 years while we rebuild? So my analysis on this is this team wants to do something in the near future. So, and as much as we as fans can say, oh man, no one expects this team to do this, this, and this, teams every year go into that year expecting to be a champion. That is the ultimate goal, right? So circled on the board is championship. It always is. Now, they're realistic when they sit there and say, we probably don't have all the pieces right now, but let's see how we can go, because you never know. This is NBA basketball. But don't get it twisted. NBA teams never come into a season and say, not one's in our position anyway, sorry, never come into a season and say, we're probably a first-round exit. Not when you go and get a likes of a Jalen Brunson. Maybe they're sitting there saying, look, we expect to go to the playoffs. We're not too sure how we'll go, but let's at least build on this season. But they also always sit there and say, man, championship. And this is for players too. Championship is always the goal. Jalen Brunson doesn't sign here to rebuild and be part of a rebuild and waste his prime, because he already had, other players already had a head start on him. He spent more time in college than other guys. So he came into the league late. He also then had to go and work his way up as a bench player in Dallas, and then and then into the starting lineup, and then he was still second fiddle. Now, he did say when he come here, I'm not the savior. So he obviously expects, my read on that is he expects there to be help. So I love his honesty. I think he's shown that he's happy to try and be the savior at the moment in certain games, late decisions. So I don't begrudge him for taking certain shots or wanting the ball in late game situations. But he has said as an overall thing, I'm not the savior. I'm not here to be the savior. So he obviously expects there to be help. Hence probably why he signed the contract he did. It is fairly friendly. Mm-hmm. It's probably still in the ballpark of what he was worth, but there's probably teams out there, and Dallas probably would have paid another $10 million in total, maybe an extra $2 million a year, something in that range. But he forewent that because he got to obviously come here for Leon Rose, who's his godfather, or perceived godfather, believed to be his own dad, who's here on the coaching staff, and also Tom Thibodeau, who he grew up around when his dad was in Chicago, helping as assistant coach with Chicago. So I'm gonna just say this to you. The question is, where does this team go from here? What would you guys like to see happen for the rest of the year? You don't have to give in any specific moves, just what would you like to see the team do? So I'm going to go to you, Pamela, first, and then we're going to go to Trippy.
Well, what I like to see is not going to happen. I'd like to see them get rid of the coach. Really. Honestly speaking, or we can just sit back and watch the train wreck. More players are going to go down, you know.
So then can I ask you, all right? So I'll pose it to you as well like this. So give me obviously what you've just given me, what you want to see happen and whatnot. But if it doesn't happen, where do you see the team go from here if that doesn't happen? Let the listeners know that too, because you're obviously going to touch on that now, but I'd just like to pose it to you properly. You would obviously like to see the coach go on, maybe give us what you would see would happen from there. And then also if it doesn't happen, what you would see the likely outcome to be from
for me, the likely outcome is we'd be lucky if we make the play-in. It doesn't get better. I'm at a loss as long as Tibbs is the coach. I'm going to watch because I love the Knicks and I love this game of basketball. But there's no rhyme or reason to what this team is doing. We don't even have an identity, nothing. I thought we had one in the beginning of the season, but no, not so much. And in respect to the players, it's hard to play in a climate of fear. Right? You're not going to get the best out of anyone because they're all nervous on the court. Nobody wants to make a mistake. When they make a mistake, their whole body structure change. The head is down. It's because of the coach. Like, this is not working. It's not working. We have a lot of athleticism on this team, and it's only going to get harder from here. I don't foresee us doing well. I just don't.
There you have it. Look, I it's hard to disagree. The trajectory of this team is not looking great. But I'm going to pose the same question to you, Trippy. Where does this team go from here? What would you like to see done? And if it doesn't happen, where do you think this team goes?
We need to make a move. Like, that's a must. That is a must. Like, if you want to prolong it anymore after that Lakers game, once we get into February, because according to my calendar, my work schedule, I don't got to go to work on February 1st. So by February 1st, we need to be making a trade because after that, we got 8 days left to the deadline. So keep it a buck. From what I've seen tonight, what I've seen overall, the best moves we can make, and this is the way I would do it, I would do a small minimum move. I'm thinking Cam, Evan, Ihart. You can even throw in a first-round pick. Give me Gary Trent Jr. and Thaddeus Young. I'll take both of them back in return. Finish out the season. Eventually, when I finish out the season, going into the off-season, depending on how this big three finish out with the 2 new recruits, if I like how it plays out, Randle could stay. If I don't like how it plays out, I'm sending Randle off to the highest bidder. Then after that, I'm letting Tom go. And then after that, I'm getting it shaken into this draft, baby. That's how I'm giving it up. So that's my in and out. No matter what. We still need to make a move, even if it's not that move. But we need to go in that time frame. Make a move, evaluate the big three with the new recruits. From there, no matter what, you need to let go of Tom and make your decision on whether you keep in Randle or not to start your next season. And then we go from there. That's all I got. Like that's where we're at now. That's really the highest possibility we can be at right now. So we need to go in that route. Because if you don't go in any of that direction, we're fucked for another 4 years. And I don't think I have it in me to take that right now. Okay? I don't got that right now, bro. Because we're finally in a good place. Like it's legitimately, we have to literally watch this front office not mess it up. That's it.
Agree.
Yeah, facts. Powerful stuff. You know, as I said at the start of this one, Knicks fans are reeling a little bit from this, and not in a good way. So yeah, I think that's everything that needed to be said. Again, though, I do thank you all for joining us. This is the first episode back of the new year for Past, Present, Future. We will be aiming to get this show going once a week again. So please do keep a lookout, and please do like, share, subscribe. Also, please follow us on YouTube, VSN Basketball Network, Basketball Station, or just the VSN Network, Venture Season Network. You'll find us on all streaming platforms, so Spotify and such. You will find Trippy on Twitter at Nick N30. You will find Pamela on Twitter as at Mad Nick Fan.
No, that's not me.
No?
Oh no, that's Ebo. That's Ebo.
Nah. Sorry, my bad. You'll find Pamela. Let them know your handle on Twitter. Sorry.
Well, I'm Queen P at VSN.
That's it. Sorry, Queen P VSN. You'll find her. She's part of the Venture Season Network. We'd love to have you back sometime, Pamela, if you'd be happy to join us. Been
Absolutely.
a great piece to this panel today. Appreciate you stepping in for some of the other people that couldn't make it today. And as always, man, check out what VSN's doing and everyone in this team's doing, because we've got a lot of great work coming this year and a lot of great content. Not just Nick related, it's going to be basketball related. So thank you again for joining us. I have been your host, Smitty. Thank you, guys. Appreciate you all. And, let's go Knicks. If I can say that.
You see what happens with the Knicks when they do bad? Look at all of us, bro. We're drained. Leon, we're drained. Okay? We have this young, beautiful woman right here. Drained. Smitty is already in tomorrow. Drained. I'm in the Bronx looking at this rain. Drained. Help us. I'm out.
Thanks, guys.
Good night, y'all.